All right, so usually we have at least a general idea about what we're going to talk about, but it's not like fully planned. This one's a little bit more contrived, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
We already have our things poured up here,
we do.
and we have them sitting to, obviously the bottle sitting to the side of whatever it is that's poured.
Yeah.
And tell us what we're doing today, Justin.
Well, these are obviously very different bottles.
Yeah.
So we are not comparing, even though it'd be kind of fun. A blind test. I mean, there shouldn't be any comparison, but if you saw how we did on our last blind test, with the taste against each other, we ain't experts.
Yeah. Oh,
we
yeah.
ain't it.
Yep.
So what we have here is bottles that have a special meaning to us in some way.
Yep.
You know, and obviously, Elmer Tea has a special meaning. Well, I'll tell you why it's special to me. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, a little bit more contrived because normally we don't have, like, it's like, hey, we like sit here and we're like, what are we going to talk about? And it's like, oh yeah, well, we'll just have a very general topic and then shoot the shit like we normally do, right? But then this is kind of that way, except like I said, a little bit more planned. So
Yeah.
just want to call that out. We'll start with you, Justin. So you have Elmer T. Lee there. Everyone, well, not everyone, but I think a good chunk of people know what Elmer T. Lee is.
Yeah.
And where it comes from and why it's important, but they probably don't know why it's important to you.
Well, it was the first bottle of bourbon that I ever owned. And I got it, maybe the story's on the website, I think, our website. But anyways, I got it for $37.99, which is our minimum price here. Not this exact bottle. My first bottle is long gone. But I was basically told by a buddy, hey, this is some good stuff. You need to buy it. And I just remember I got it at a Costco, and there was cases of it on the shelf. Cases. This was back in 2017.
Yeah.
Okay, 2018. I'm just getting into bourbon. I didn't know much about it.
Before the craze really hit a
Yeah, I mean,
fever pitch.
to be honest with you, I actually had I was really getting into it, so I think my wife bought me like one of those like sample kits that would send you one every week for like 5 weeks or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And I think I had a rye. There was a few scotches. I don't even think I had a bourbon in there, but it was just random whiskeys. So I was getting into it. And then a buddy told me about this. I'm like, $37.99, kind of a lot, but I guess I'll buy it.
It's super,
So I did.
Yeah,
and
for
I
you,
was,
expensive. Yeah.
And I was drinking it with, I really liked my mixer, so I was drinking it with ginger ale and that. And that's what I would have. And, I mean, don't knock the drink, but if I knew what I knew now, I was just crushing them. And then I got halfway down with the bottle, and I'm like, you know what? I need to try to drink this, like, without anything. You know, I learned the term neat, what it meant. And I started drinking it neat. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of good. Like, taking sips, it's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
And then that's where it went from there. And then that was where it sparked my whiskey.
It, like, took off from there.
I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. Like,
Well, I think it would be good for you to realize that that's how Elmer T. Lee probably wanted you to drink that bottle. He said something
Sprite.
about, with Sprite, that he would drink it with Sprite. And it really was, $37.99 isn't necessarily cheap, but it's also not very expensive either. I think it was supposed to be in like that mid-range during that time, probably when it came out.
Well, $37.99 is cheap, but like, me buying bottles, like I'm thinking of like, all I know is like Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Jameson. That's what I think of whiskey. I didn't even know the difference between Scotch and bourbon and Irish or anything like that, or rye. So it's like, oh, I'll give it a try. And then by the time I finished it, of course we didn't have any left, and then you never see these like that anymore. In that quick of time, you never see them like that anymore. So that's why that bottle to me is like, it got me into it, and here I am. And luckily I've been able to get a few more since then, and I have not paid that ridiculous secondary $200 to $300. I've not done that.
Good for you.
Not once. I've actually paid the minimum price each time. I do have a backup, and I have one open right now, and that's where I'm at, and that's all I've seen, because I'm not willing to pay any more than that, because I don't think it's worth it.
It's really not.
It's still good.
It's good. It's good stuff, and I think it 100% commands the price of $37.99.
Yeah.
No question. I think we said something like up to $80 or whatever.
Yeah,
for value.
I think that'd be
it's
fine.
Good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great stuff.
It's overhyped, but it's good.
It's overhyped, but at the same time, it's a solid bourbon. And there's a lot of stuff that comes from Buffalo Trace that actually is a solid bourbon. And we're not saying that, when we say the thing where we say, oh, it's
Yeah.
definitely not worth secondary, that doesn't mean that it's not maybe worth a slight bit more than, what
For sure.
what it actually
I'm
is
worth to pay a
priced
little.
at.
I'm willing to pay a little bit more for it because I think the value's there.
Mm-hmm.
But as we know now, it's the same. It's essentially the same. Well, it is the same mash bill as Blanton's and Rock Hill Farms,
Mm-hmm.
Hill Rock,
Yeah.
and then Hillcock.
Oh, you're thinking Rock Hill Farms versus Hill Rock Estate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Rock
what I'm
Hill
thinking
Farms,
of.
Yeah.
Or a little Freudian slip there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's all good. Just age different. Aged in a different warehouse and whatever, it's good
Yeah.
though. And now it's $200 to $300. You'll find it.
So now when you're drinking Elmer T. Lee and you're just like chilling, whatever, you're having a pour of it, do you think about that? Is it like one of the things that kind of brings you back to where you were in the beginning?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of it's like a cringy, like, oh my God, I can't believe how I was drinking this before. And then again, there's no wrong way to drink it. But it's like, man, if only I knew. What I really cringe at the fact is, like, I think at the time there's like no limit on what I could buy. I could have bought as many as I could,
Which is
each
crazy.
one a day because it lasted for a while. It was there for over a month.
Mm-hmm.
And and it didn't do it. But it's okay. Here we are. Now, tell me about your bottle, because that is something that is not heavily allocated. You always find it. It never changes in price, and it is cheap.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really nothing to write home about either, for the most part. So for me, this is probably one of my most, like we talk about, gives you memories, makes you think about stuff. For me is just Jim Beam White Label, because it's what my grandpa used to drink. Just as a kid, like he usually have he would actually put it on the rocks, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
He'd just drink it that way. And yeah, it's just, remember it, like, just, it reminds me of my grandpa. You know what I mean? It's not just a matter of, like, like, it kind of puts me back in a time and a place when I was young, too, but it just reminds me of my grandpa when I drink it. So for me, it's, whenever I crack it open, I never really look down or dog Jim Beam White Label, and it's, like, one of the most, like, biased things, because you're like, really, I know that it's not much, obviously, to write home about, like I said, but it's just because it has that particular association. I have that particular association with it. So I'll never say anything bad about it, because to me it's kind of special. So yeah, that's pretty much my story for Jim Beam White Label. Love to just drink it sometimes. And it's not because you're finding the best notes. You're not finding like crazy, this has got, like chocolate or leather or anything like that. You're not going to find anything like that in Jim Beam White Label. But it's just, like I said, it takes you back to a time and place, and that's really what the value is.
I think that's a good point too for why whiskey is so. There's a big community behind it, I guess you can call it, right? Because it's about slowing down. It's about having conversations. It's about it leaves an imprint on that time you had a bottle. If you had a good time, or a family member you remember. So I think that's why I like whiskey, is not only all the nuances in it, but just like. It's meant to sit down and enjoy, not take as a shot.
Right.
And just kind of live in the moment that you're in.
Yeah,
and that's cool.
And that's the other thing, too. Yeah, I totally agree. I think also it's like there's that, it kind of brings me down to think, like, we always fuss about our whiskey. Like, at this point, that is kind of how it is, right? Like, we're going to go ahead and try and, chase the nice bottles and the stuff that's allocated and expensive and all that other stuff, and then you go have one of a pour of this, and you're like, this can evoke better memories, and
for sure
it'd be like a better overall experience just based upon that. And what's this bottle, $20 or something like that? Super cheap. And that's, you get, for that price, you get so much more, and that's, I think, the extra dimension to whiskey that people don't really think about. There is an extra dimension to it for for those who have memories that are attached to whiskey, and that is really actually very important to the overall experience of it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. And so you go through phases in your whiskey hunting career when it really sticks with you, right? Like, you have your bottle, and like, oh, I gotta find the next best thing, and then you're like, what's the best bourbon to find? And then Blanton's comes up, and then you gotta chase Blanton's, and then you're like, well, it's good, but it's not the best. And then I think you spend a bunch of money, you try to fill your shelves, and then you come to a realization that you're not really even drinking 99% of this stuff, and it's like, what am I doing? And then you have 400 something bottles that you've probably tried each one of these at some point.
Yeah.
But then you still have your favorites and the ones that bring back the best memories. I don't know.
Exactly. It's kind of funny that it works that way where, yeah, even just when you're doing cocktails, sometimes I'm like, it's just easy. I know that I'm going to enjoy in an old fashioned. I'm going to enjoy Buffalo Trace. I'm going to enjoy having Knob Creek in there. I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's crazy because you have all these bottles around you. You're like, oh, I could try Stone in there. I could try all this, but you do. Sometimes you do. But I would say that like for the most part, I'm like, I'm just gonna go with what I know.
For sure,
it's gonna be killer cocktail, and that's what I'm doing.
You know what I do now too with some of the nicer bottles, the quote unquote nicer bottles that I get, the more expensive ones, I bring them over to my parents' house and I just have them with my dad and I leave them there, and then we drink them. I only drink them when I go see my dad and hang out.
Yeah, and I think that could potentially create those memories for you.
For sure. Think? Yeah. Ones that I really like, I'll bring over there and like, hey, we'll have these together. Yeah. So it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of the, like we talked about, the extra dimensions I feel like of whiskey that people don't really think about or they don't really consider. I think sometimes. I think a lot of times in the industry they talk about it, like they'll be like, oh, drinking, great memories to drink with people that you want to share great whiskey with and all that other stuff.
I guess it sounds ridiculous because at the end of the day, it is alcohol, and you need to be responsible when you drink it.
Right.
But that's why whiskey's good. You sit down, you sip it.
Well, dude, think about it this way, right? So even if you were to, I don't know, let's just say that you drank Capri Suns when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You have a Capri Sun, again, the specific flavor that you loved. It might take you back to a time and a place, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter what it is.
Exactly.
The thing I think that why people associate bourbon specifically with that is because it should be kind of a sip and slow down type of thing. And usually when you're doing that, you're just sitting and hanging out with people that you want to hang out with. And I think that's kind of that whole, experience again. And that kind of like the angle that they like to do for marketing. But I think it's true. I do think it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. And it's not wrong to shoot whiskey either. I mean, you can still do it. No. I would count that as a shot whiskey for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely it is.
But it's still good. I mean, it's just sweet, easy to drink.
Easy to drink.
Cornbread.
It's watered down, man.
Like candy corn notes.
It's like a no fuss, and that's exactly what my grandpa was like. World War II vet, one of those guys.
Yeah.
He's just like, I want some whiskey. All right, buddy.
Wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So thanks so much for joining us today, guys. Yeah. If you have a special bottle like we just talked about, make sure to drop a comment below. We love to hear those stories from you guys. And if there's anything else that you want to see us do on our Dram and Discuss, just let us know, because we are always open to figuring out what to talk about.
Yeah.
But thanks so much, guys. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you would like to see more content just like this, make sure to subscribe to us at our channel. And anything else, buddy?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks,
guys.
That's
what I got.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
Cheers.